Wonderful to meet you. Thank you for taking a minute out today. I appreciate it.
Yes, you bet.
So let's begin our journey before we get into your good work by asking you this. I would start with this question. 6 years ago, this pandemic was a real fork in the road for all of us for a lot of reasons. How did you get through that era, and how has it changed the way that you approach work and life today?
Yeah, so the pandemic kind of now seems like a distant view in the rearview mirror.
Yeah,
Um, 6 years, we are we are in a new normal, but not a normal that we expected. We thought we'd go to a normal that was like normal, and and now our normal is like who knows what'll happen on any given day, right?
yeah,
And that's a bit unsettling, I think, for people. And so you combine that with the other greater force, which is the impact of AI. So just think about this, that we had pandemic 2020, AI starts to hit about 2022, 2023, and AI in the long run may well be the greater force. So in terms of business, the thing that we need to track is really what is happening with AI. Now, coming out of COVID, we came out, I would say, in a somewhat timid manner. I mean, COVID shook the whole world. COVID had an impact that no one could have foretold. And then not only was it tragic for many, many, many families around the world, but then we politicized it in America. And that trend, of course, happens today. Everything gets politicized. And that, I think, is also a tragedy. But now we have AI to work with. And AI is a force that we don't know exactly where it's going, how fast it's getting there. We know that there are huge productivity gains to be had. And for smaller businesses, what's really great about smaller businesses and AI is that with the agentics that we are able to put into place, it's almost, it can have an immediate benefit for small businesses. But we are now, so every generation gets defined by something, right? And so this generation, when you look at Gen Z, I guess it would be, they'll be defined by COVID. They'll be defined by those years they spent not in the schoolroom, not being social. And that's going to have an impact on work. It's going to have an impact on the labor force, on the work ethic. And of course, every generation feels like the generation after them isn't, isn't as, I want to say, isn't as smart or as hardworking or well, the way that we did it, you know how that goes, Joe, right?
yeah, for sure.
um, but I would say that what I'm watching now is the impact of AI.
So let's get into the work you're doing. There's a lot of things that are going into what you're doing with clients. I want to put you in front of 13-year-olds at career day. One of the kids wants to know what you do for a living. How do you synthesize the work that you do, the day job that you have to make sense to them?
To a 13-year-old. So, to 13-year-olds, I would say, you guys sit in front of a computer and you play games. And maybe you're on Roblox. And Roblox is a great platform because it's open source and there are all kinds of games to play in there. And I would say, my work is the same. It's kind of like I open up Roblox in the morning. I don't call it Roblox, I call it work. And some days I'm in this program, sometimes I'm in that game, sometimes I'm actually building a game. And so I work with clients who pay me to do that. So, Roblox, I just spent 3 weeks with my grandchildren and they were playing every day. They would play as long as I would allow them to. And so I learned a lot about gaming. I learned a lot about Roblox. And I think Roblox is actually a really good metaphor for work because we now live in a society where it's not like we go to work from 9 to 5 and that's it. We live in a 24/7 work world. We have the gig economy. We have people who Most people under 30 are working 3 jobs that are kind of gig jobs or part-time jobs. So 13-year-olds, just remember your work world is going to kind of going to be like your gaming world. You're going to do this game, that game, that game, except we're going to call it work and you're going to get money for it. Now, the interesting thing is in the gaming world, there are kids who are 20, 23 years old who get paid big bucks to go on YouTube and play the game, make commentary, and they get paid for it. So 13-year-olds are learning how to make money in a completely different way than we did, in ways that are just, to us, a little silly. Like, he makes a ton of money playing video games with a camera watching him playing video games on YouTube. But 13-year-olds will learn very quickly that they can make money in ways we never expected. So, how I make money is through using the analogy of Roblox. I do this project, I do that project, I do that project. We'll call them games for my clients, and they pay me for that.
So what did you want to be at that age? What was your dream job?
When I was 13,
Yeah.
well, I have been a writer all my life and a creative. So I wanted to be doing something in the creative world. And I was most interested around that time in being a film director.
Okay. So talk to me about your childhood. What were the seeds, the foundational seeds that have allowed you to be an entrepreneur, to be a writer, to be a creative, this right and left brain world? How did this happen?
Yes, so I am number 8 out of 10 kids.
Okay.
So
Okay.
that's a big one,
Yeah.
right?
Yes.
And I grew up on a farm, so lots of hard work. And I know by the time I was like 13, I decided that labor was not my gig. I did not want to be like physical labor. I was always imagining and writing and seeing stories and creating stories. And so that I knew that my career path would take me into creativity, and it certainly has.
What was the first thing that you created or wrote and showed somebody and you got a response that was positive and it made you think, I can do this. This is what I want to do.
I have the perfect story for you, Joe. When I was 13, so I'm on the farm, right? And we, so there's an organization called Future Farmers of America.
Uh-huh. FFA.
You've heard of it?
We have the convention in Kansas City. The
Oh, yes.
yes. Yeah.
Okay, so I grew up in Maryland on the Eastern Shore, and we're a farm family, so we participate in FFA. But I am not showing heifers and pigs and cows. No way, that's not my deal. So I found out that they had a writing competition. So this is at the state level. So I wrote a script, a radio script, and I won first place. I got this huge trophy for writing. And I'm like, hey, you know what? This creative stuff, it could work. It could be something.
That's
And
cool.
yeah, yeah, it was a defining moment for me.
Absolutely. That's a great story. So, who's been your hero? Who's been your muse, your inspirational force that's allowed you to kind of navigate and become who you are today?
Wow, that's a great, great question. I don't know that there's just one person. I have studied authors and creatives, but I would say that early on, I was struck, I was so struck, and this was when I was in college. I was so struck by the movie Citizen Kane and the the emotional aspect of it, as well as obviously the technical aspect for filming, because I was very interested in film as, in terms of whether I would actually be able to be a film director. And that one stuck with me. Now, in addition to that, I grew up in a very conservative family, very Christian-based family. And so I was always intrigued by the stories that were like coming from the Bible, some that I thought were totally unfair. and some that, you know, were really quite amazing, and parables and different structures, and really, so I looked at it, I guess, from a writer's perspective. I didn't know I did at that time, but I was very curious about how all these stories worked and why they worked, and you know, who made all the decisions and why God was the way he was in the Old Testament, and you know, things like that.
Yeah. So let me ask you this, whether it's in entertainment, writing, the creative world, or the business world, if you can meet one person, or maybe even a round table, meet somebody that you absolutely admire, that you could have a lunch with, that you could pick their brain, that might help you on your journey. Is there someone that you would love to meet?
Yes, I've always wanted to meet Einstein.
Okay. Okay. That's
Now,
awesome.
Einstein, of course, is no longer with us, but
The ghost is fine. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. I mean, what he did was so amazing, you know, not only in terms of physics and, you know, all of that, but he was really, he was really a creator. I mean, he discovered things that we would not put in the creative world. We would put it in the scientific world, you know, physics, et cetera. But his brain, there was no box that his brain was in.
Yeah.
And so his thinking, you know, he thought way, way, way outside the box.
You certainly did. So, what is the energy for you every day to do the work that you do? You're affecting people's lives. There's people that depend on you, and you've obviously done good work throughout your career. What is that motivation for you? And you also have a soul and a family and all of those other things. What is it holistically for you every day that gives you this energy to do things at a high level?
So there are actually two levels of energy that I focus on. The creative spirit. The creative spirit never dies. So, you know, the creative spirit is a flow from the divinity, and it's not like you can stop it, right? It's not like you know, a skill like or expertise. It is a flow of energy, right? And so I'm always cognizant of the creative energy that I have, the creative spirit that I have, wanting to put it to the highest and best use possible. And that is what I do in my writing. Now, the other energy that motivates me is what I call production energy. So I love production energy too, and that is like getting stuff done. Okay. So, like last night, I was up until midnight working on a marketing funnel, right? And that is production energy. It requires a different perspective, it requires a different input and output than creative spirit does, or creative energy. Creative energy is a flow. Production energy is more like machinery. You know, you do this, you do that, you do this, you do that. It's a process. It's a process. And so when I'm in production energy, I know that I can not use up as much energy as when I'm in creative flow. Okay. So being cognizant, and I would say this was a key lesson for me to learn, being cognizant of when I'm in flow for creative flow and when I'm doing production energy allowed me to understand that production energy, if I try to put my heart and soul into it, it doesn't work. Production energy is like A, B, C, D, E, one, two, three. Follow the rules, follow the process, follow it, and you get it done. In the flow, when you're in the creative flow, writing, strategizing, creating, it becomes almost like a rejuvenation time. As a matter of fact, I think that your body and your cells become revitalized through creative flow,
Yeah.
which does not happen in production energy.
Yeah.
Now that was a whole lot of woo-woo, Joe.
That no, I love it. No, that makes sense because I mean, I'm a creative, I'm a right and left kind of brain. I get what you're saying
Right.
because ultimately, yeah, I mean, I remember seeing years ago a study of the brains of senior citizens that were at a retirement village that just did watercolors. And it didn't matter what they painted, but the fact that they were taking part in it, it was regrowing synapses and dendrites that snapped in their life, right? So when you talk about
Yeah,
that regenerative nature of creativity, I totally get it, and it's like, it's that whole idea of that our spinal column is basically has a network of like a lightning bolt. We have enough
right,
electricity. And then when you talk to people with auras, we actually emit light. So if you're doing something at a pure level like a child with no fences, there's a poet that I used to read that said we're born geniuses and buried idiots. If we put those fences away and get rid of all of these things and become childlike and create, I totally get
right.
it. It's
Yes,
regenerative. Yeah.
yes, it is regenerative.
Yeah, it certainly is. So, speaking of that younger place of existence, I'm going to ask you if you had a dream tonight and ran into the 18-year-old version of you and you walked into a room and there was a film projector and you clicked play and there was a 60-second highlight reel of the life you've lived, the choices you've made that came up on the wall, would that young version of you believe that your life turned out this way?
Yes. Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that so it's an interesting thing, Joe. And this again, you probably think is a little woo-woo, a little crazy, but very early on, I realized I don't know if I was told this or it came to me in a dream or whatever, but um, I have known all my life that the greatest impact that I will have in my life is when I'm older.
Okay.
Okay, so I knew all my life that I was building towards something. And when there were disappointments or setbacks, I was just like, this is just part of what I'm building towards. Now, I'm starting now to see what it is. I'm starting now to see the impact. I'm having huge impact in people's lives. And I'm starting to understand that now I am ready for it to happen. Where if I had tried to push it earlier, you can't push the river, right? So you have to be ready to make that impact. You have to be ready to be able to manage the impact on yourself when you are starting to have a huge impact on other people.
So, on that 60-second highlight reel of your life, what are you the happiest about, the proudest of?
What am I happiest about?
Yeah.
Um, I think I am happiest that I am I am a very grounded person that the people who count on me can always count on me. Um, and that doesn't mean that I'm not moving forward or growing or expanding because I am every day and I'm taking those people with me. But it means that there is a certain being in touch with reality, with what is most important in the world, the meaningfulness of the human being, the meaningfulness of belonging, of being part of the human race, that we are all one, that we are not separate, and that what happens within us happens within others, and that by acknowledging others, we begin to actually acknowledge the pain and suffering that we have within the universe and can begin to work on alleviating that.
So everyone has a perception of you. Family, friends, clients, everyone that divulges in your creative world, but you run the show. What's your perception of you? Who do you think you are?
Um, I think that I'm a guide. I am the person that's out front, um, scanning the landscape, making sure that everything is safe, that we are moving forward, that we are going in the right direction, that the guide is leading people in the right direction, which will help everyone.
So we kind of mentioned up front how weird the world is now. There's just so many things. And I
Yeah.
don't want to sound like the old guy in the room, but there's just a lot of things that are weird about what we're living through. It's that idea that you talked about where when we got out of COVID, we thought, okay, it's going to be better. We're going to get back to some level of security. But now it's almost worse. We almost feel like every day there's some kind of clown show that's going to pop up and we're going to be like, what's going on? So my question to you is this: do you remain hopeful? Are you hopeful about where we're going and what's going on from a spiritual, creative, realistic perspective? How does that operate for you?
Yes, I am. I am hopeful. I'm very hopeful because I have a deep, deep, deep belief in the people. So, specifically the American people, because I believe that democracy is one of the greatest constructs in the world, and that this, experiment of the forefathers, I believe that the American people are smart enough that we will not let democracy slip away.
Yeah,
That we will still think about this, Joe. This just amazes me. In America, where we believe very deeply that you can pull yourself up by your own bootstraps, that you can come to America and you can make a way for yourself and your family, that you in America, innovation is possible, that in America, you are not stuck unless you want to be stuck. In America, you can overcome challenges. In America, in the free enterprise system, you can go from being dirt poor to being wealthy in one generation.
yeah,
You can, and with that, I mean, we see example after example after example of philanthropy, of people helping people. And I'm not talking just about the Buffetts of the world and, the big guys of the world, but we have a spirit within America that comes from free enterprise, from being able to innovate, to think of the things that people have come up with, that have created, that have made millions of dollars purely from the way that they thought and innovated and brought it into the world. It
yep,
is phenomenal. Now, you look at the European countries, other countries, the way that the money is made, it's often generational, which means that then, 95, 99% of that country is excluded, right?
yeah,
Because they don't have the opportunities we have. And I am extremely hopeful that the construct of the democracy and free enterprise will continue.
yeah. Me too. So if anybody wants to reach out, they want to delve into your work further, they have questions, hiring, any of the good business, where do they go?
So I work in the author world. I also do work with small businesses. Currently, you can find me and come into my world at www.boldauthors.network.com. And we are also launching in September a new program that is for all small businesses, coaches, consultants, authors, creatives, and it's www.owntheinbox.com. And it's about when you own the inbox, you own your future. And I want more than anything else, for people who want to be entrepreneurial to own their future.
I love it. I will put all these links in the show notes. Hey, this has been great. So great to meet you. Thank you
Thank
for your
you.
story. Thank you for your wisdom. Best of luck with everything. I appreciate it.
Yes, Joe. Thanks for bringing this to the world.
Yes, you bet.